Hello everybody, I'm Ken Pierce. Welcome to another episode of Electrically Canadian. I'm standing out front of my house right now and I am doing everything wrong today so I can share it with you. So it is a balmy minus 29 degrees Celsius outside right now and a little bit windy, so probably about minus 35 with the wind chill. And today I'm going to be taking my car out for a little bit of a drive. As you can see, my neighbor has their van running over there warming up. I have done the opposite. My car is completely cold saturated. It is very chilly out here, and I'm going to start from cold and go for a drive. If I can get the battery down low enough, I may even go for a fast charge and see how it goes. But really, I'm trying to see, worst case scenario, what happens with the electric car in these extreme cold temperatures and trying to drive around in this extremely cold weather. Here we go. As you can see, I haven't started the car up yet. I'm about to start it up. It is very cold in here. I have brought this little infrared thermometer along with me, and I'm just going to do a couple of quick temperature checks in the car. So it's about minus 10 in my garage Celsius. It's about minus 6.5 in the car right now. Temperature at the vents is about the same. And now I'm going to start it up. My state of charge right now is 71%, and the car is saying that will give me 159 kilometers of range. I think it is probably overestimating right now with these cold temperatures. Having turned it on just now, the temperature controls are set at 20 degrees for the internal temperature, and the heated seats and heated steering wheel have turned on automatically as I've started the car. Here we go. The car has figured out that it's cold now, and I'm not sure if you can hear that, but the fan speed has turned up significantly. So it's getting a little bit loud in here. That's not unexpected in this kind of temperature. The dash right now is saying it's minus 9 degrees outside. We know that's the temperature inside the garage that it's reading. It's not the temperature it's reading outdoors. I suspect as I start driving around that will cool off significantly. I had to step outside there for a second because my garage door was refusing to close. Stepping back in the car, I can already feel it's warming up in here. Temperature coming out of the vents is about minus 2 now, so it's quite a bit warmer in the car than it is outside. The seat feels nice and warm as well, which is good. Here we go. Because of the drop in temperature, my car has about a half a block from home decided that it is now at 68% charge. So we're losing charge effectiveness because of the cold temperatures. Outside temperature, according to the reading on the dash now, is minus 18 degrees. As I drive along, I can watch the temperature reading on the dash drop in real time. Now at minus 24 at the set of lights nearest to my home. And again, as the wind starts to hit the front of the car and the temperature sensor in the car or under the car starts to get a better sense of how cold it is outside, I expect this is going to get down to about minus 29, minus 30, somewhere in that range. Once it equalizes, depending on how much heat is coming out of whatever parts of the car that temperature sensor is near. I'm going to say I'm a little surprised at how quickly the cabin temperature warmed up, even with this extreme cold. I am about to hit the freeway here, so we'll see how it does when there's a lot of very cold wind hitting the front of the car. But it's already quite comfortable in here. I cannot check the temperature in the interior of the car right now just because my hands are obviously occupied driving and holding the microphone here. But I'm about to stop at a red light, so I'll do a quick temperature check internally and then let you know what it is. Okay, so I just did a quick temperature check, and the heat coming out of the vents right now is about 23 degrees Celsius. That's pretty good, and I've got the heat set to 20 degrees, so it's overcompensating right now, trying to warm up the cabin. The heated seat has gone down on the auto mode from 3 bars down to 2, and the steering wheel is still warmed up as well. And just waiting at a red light here to hit the freeway in this now outdoor minus 27 is what the car is saying it is, and we'll see how it does once I hit the freeway. I am now driving at about 95 to 100 kilometers an hour, going back and forth between those speeds. Driving at almost exactly 100 right now, just going with the flow of traffic along here. Outside temperature according to the car is minus 27, so I think that's probably about as low as it's going to get. I think that temperature sensor is somewhere where it's protected from the wind, so that would be the ambient temperature outside now that things have cooled off. Inside the car it is very comfortable and warm. Range has dropped to, it shows 146 kilometers on the Gesso meter on the dashboard right now, and 65% state of charge. I'm just going to drive along the freeway here for a little bit and see how the car does in terms of keeping the cabin warm with these high speeds hitting all this glass around me, and obviously the extremely cold temperatures outside. I've been driving long enough now that I can get a sense of what kind of efficiency I'm going to get out of the car on this particular drive, and it's hovering between 2.2 and 2.3 kilometers per kilowatt hour. So that's significantly less than half what I get during the summer in this car on these same roads. So it gives you a sense of how hard the temperature hits it. Interestingly, the range seems to be getting a little better on the car. The efficiency is getting a little better. It's gone up to 2.6 kilometers per kilowatt hour now, even though the ambient temperature outside has dropped a little further down to minus 28. I think that might be because the battery pack is heating up as I drive along now. Just generating a little bit of extra heat underneath that's helping it to be a little more efficient. This is a Blue Cruise compatible highway that I actually am on here, or freeway I guess, and I've been using it for this last little bit here just to see how it would do, and it's doing pretty well. It doesn't seem to be bothered too much by the blowing snow on the road. It is telling me to put my hands back on the wheel occasionally when the lines get too obscured by the snow. But it's overall not too bad. It's doing a good job of keeping me in the lanes, and as I say that, it just canceled. There is a lot of blowing snow in this particular stretch of road that I'm on right now. I've noticed that the cabin temperature is starting to cool down now, so I think the small heater in this car is starting to struggle with keeping up with the severe temperatures outside. We've dropped to minus 29 according to the dash now, and the roads are getting significantly worse. I'm going to do a U-turn up ahead, or go over an overpass and come back around, and then start heading back the other way, which I think will mean I'm heading into the wind, so we'll see how the car does when I do that. I'm headed back northbound on Stony Trail here in Calgary now, and the temperature outside has hit minus 29 officially on the temperature gauge on the screen, which is about what I expected. Blue Cruise is still kicking in and out on these incredibly snowy roads with lots of blowing snow coming across. Visibility is pretty poor. I'm not really relying on the Blue Cruise, obviously. I'm paying pretty good attention to the road. Traffic is not too bad. There's not that many people out driving around in this kind of weather. It's too miserable. I just came out here obviously to test how the car would do. Right now I'm at 55% state of charge with 117 kilometers left to go, which means that the range estimate I was getting when I left the house is actually pretty good. The speeds have been between usually 90 and 100 kilometers an hour of the traffic, and so I've been just kind of maintaining speed with the traffic. I do notice the range goes up quite a bit when we slow down, but the car, as it warms up, is starting to get better and better on the efficiency. It's up to 2.9 kilometers per kilowatt hour on this particular stretch now. That's impressive, actually, considering how cold it is out there. I thought it would be doing much worse. So it seems like it hits sort of a floor and then doesn't really get any worse. If we get any temperatures later in the year or early in the new year that get us down to minus 40 from an ambient temperature perspective, I'll probably do another test then just to see how much that extra 10 degrees difference makes. This was kind of worst case scenario for the car, though. The only thing I could have done to make it harsher for it is maybe park it outside to get it completely cold soaked rather than in the garage, which has a little bit of ambient temperature. I might try that again later in the year. Seeing how the battery's doing here, if I can get it below 50%, which I should be able to do, I think I'm going to try stopping at a DC fast charger just to see how the car does taking a charge from a fast charger when it's minus 28, minus 29 degrees outside, which is extremely cold. The ambient temperature in the cabin has cooled down quite a bit now. I've been measuring the temperature at the vents, and it's always sitting 20 or higher, and the heated steering wheel sits at about 35 in my measurements. That doesn't really matter all that much, though. The heater is just not able to really put out enough heat to warm this entire cabin space. There's a lot of room in this cabin, and it's quite a small heater. So with the wind hitting the car outside, it does make it pretty cold. I was measuring the temperature on some of the pillars on the front of the car here. They're in the single digits, sort of 5-6 degrees Celsius. So that's giving you a sense of how much cold is kind of soaking through the exterior of the car. You can feel the cold coming off of the windshield in certain spots, that sort of thing. Thankfully, the heated steering wheel, the heated seats up front here do make a big difference. It is one thing I think Ford should probably add, even as an option on future models of the car. That would be heated seats in the back. If I had the kids in the back, they'd probably be a little chilly right now. Having said that, if you've got 3-4 bodies in the car, you've also got more bodies giving off ambient heat, obviously, as well. So maybe it balances out. We'll probably get a chance to test that in January. I do have to drive my daughter up to Red Deer, where she's going to be for a little while doing her college practicum. Having said that, it's all going to depend on what the temperatures are like at that time. I genuinely don't know. The way the weather works here, it could be minus 30, minus 40. It could be plus 12 degrees Celsius. It's really tough to tell in this part of the world. Right now, though, it is very cold, and this is proving to be a very good test for the car. And so far, it's doing really well. I'm impressed. Obviously, we lose a lot of range with the cold. I expected that. I thought hitting the outside temperatures here would cause it to drop like a rock. It has not. It's been pretty good. Looking at where the car is saying the energy is going in this particular drive, right now it's saying 57% has gone to driving, 4% to accessories, 25% to climate use. So about a quarter of the energy that's been used has been used to try and keep me warm in the car. And then another 14% lost to the exterior temperature. And at 53% state of charge, we're showing 111 kilometers remaining. Energy on this particular trip, efficiency on this particular trip is sitting at 2.9 kilometers per kilowatt hour still, which is very good considering I've been driving at highway speeds into the wind on a good chunk of this trip. And the car is very cold, minus 29 still outside, and probably maybe 13-14 degrees inside the car. Heat is set at 20, so that gives you a sense of how much heat I'm losing to the space inside this car with only one body to keep it warm. Okay, I just pulled into the Electrify Canada station at the Canadian Tire at Deerfoot City here in Calgary. And I'm at 47% state of charge with 95 kilometers remaining according to the dash here. That particular little trip, all in all, was about 50 kilometers, give or take. And I ended up getting 3.1 kilometers per kilowatt hour in the end on that one. And it's kind of shocking that it came in that high, considering how cold it is outside. I'm not sure how I managed to do that, in all honesty. I certainly wouldn't trust that in an extreme cold environment like that day to day, but I'm not going to complain. That's much better than I thought I was going to get. So now, if this charger is working, which it looks like it might be iffy looking at the screen from here, I'm going to try fast charging the car for a little bit just to see how it does when it's this cold out. And so I'm going to turn it off and go out there and fiddle with the charger. We'll see how it goes. As Murphy's Law would have it, the first charger I plugged into was unavailable because apparently it's broken. I've pulled into this one. This one, the screen seems to be okay. It does say that one of the handles is unavailable, so I'll see how it goes with the other one. Okay. Charger number 2 is a no-go. This one gave me a charging station fault, unfortunately. So one thing I will say about trying to fuel up your car in these kind of temperatures is it's much harder than it is in a gas-powered car. In a gas-powered car, you stick the nozzle in, gas comes out, and off you go. Here, out of 4 chargers at this location, there is so far 2 that have not worked. And that's not okay. This infrastructure has to get better. Okay, here I am at charger number 3. This will be my last attempt. There is one other charger I could try here, but if this one doesn't go, I'm not going to try that one just because the angle to get into it is going to be too odd. It's too hard to twist these really stiff cables around when it's this cold out and make it fit into the car if you have to go at a strange angle. These 2 are just about perfectly positioned, so I'm going to give it a shot. This is the last attempt. Alright, I finally got it to start charging. The issue I was having was actually with the Electrify Canada billing platform again. When I plugged in, it was complaining about not being able to connect to the Electrify America network, which of course these chargers are not on. The Electrify Canada app would show this charger as being in use even though it wasn't, and so I could not initiate a charge from the app. I was able to initiate a charge by swiping using the credit card reader on the charging station, so it is initiating the charging now. I'm just waiting to see what kind of charge the car will take. I've got the car off, as is Ford's recommendation for when you're fast charging the car. The ambient temperature inside the car is warm enough for now. We'll see how long it lasts. I might have to start the car if I'm going to sit here for a little bit. The dash near the vents is sitting at about 21.8 degrees Celsius, which is pretty good, but that's right where the heat was coming out. If I measure the dash up closer to the windshield, that's more in the 4 and 5 degree Celsius range. And looks like I got a charging start error. To start a new charging station, reconnect. Alright, I'm going to give it one more shot and then I'm done with this place because these chargers are not acting well in this extreme cold. Boy, that's extreme out there. Having said that, I'm going to give you a pro tip that I made a huge mistake today, which is I forgot to bring my gloves. They're sitting on the washing machine right near the exit to our home in our garage. Alright, my charging station has officially started now. It only took me 5 or 6 tries to get it going. I do not recommend touching those chargers when it's this cold out. So I've switched handles on this particular charger to number 2. It does feel like it clicked in a little better than number 1 did when I plugged it in. It has now started charging, and not enough to give me any reading yet on what it's charging at, but I'll check in a few minutes once it's finally started delivering some electricity to the car. Okay, the charger is running now. I did have to go up and mash a button to make it go off of the guest screen so I could actually see the charging rate. And I can see that right now, after 2 minutes of charging, it's sitting at 30 kilowatt current charge speed. I'm going to give it a few more minutes. I don't need a lot of charge here because I'm not actually charging. I'm just testing to see how the charger will ramp up. And then I am going to go home where it is warm. And it is cold enough that the battery in my little Sony action cam is getting ready to die. So this will probably be my last check-in, but I'll do some voiceover and follow up afterwards just to give you a sense of what happened after this particular charging session. Okay, this is a 150 kilowatt station. It has not gotten above 32 kilowatts now. So in the extreme cold, I think we can probably be pretty sure that the Mustang Mach-E or the Charger or both are cold locked because it is too darn cold outside. So having said that, I suppose what it means is there's no need to come to these really expensive Electrify Canada charging stations if you're on a road trip in the middle of winter and it's minus 20 or below outside, because you're not going to charge any faster than you would at a 50 kilowatt charger anyhow, which tends to charge quite a bit less per minute for their charging. This 5-minute charge has cost about, almost $3 now, which is interesting because that means they're charging the premium rate even though the car never got above 30 kilowatts. So obviously they charge based on what the car says it can accept, not what it's actually accepting. Hello everyone, we're going to do another experiment today. I am driving to the Electrify Canada chargers at Deerfoot City here in Calgary. It's about 15 minutes away from my home. We drove yesterday from Calgary to Red Deer and back again, which used up pretty much all the battery in the car. As I left the house, I was at 18% charge. Right now I'm sitting at 17% with a low battery warning on the car. And I'm hoping we'll get a little better charge rate than we did when it was minus 35. And that's why I'm going back to the Electrify Canada charging stations. The Electrify Canada charging stations were challenging at minus 35, and they really only peaked out at about 43 kilowatts. Today is nowhere near as cold as that. I didn't bother shooting any real footage on the way up and back from Red Deer. It was a pretty uneventful drive. It's a very straight, boring highway. It was a bright, sunny day, and it was reasonably warm. It was right around 5-6 degrees Celsius when we were driving up there yesterday and back. A little colder at night when we were driving back, maybe -5 or so. The car I've left unplugged overnight, let it cool down to ambient temperature, which is about -7. And I want to understand whether these Electrify Canada charging stations will do better at a temperature that's not so extreme as the -35, or if we're still going to see them peaking out at sort of that 42, 43 kilowatt range, which is what was happening when it was -35 outside. And I'm hoping they'll do better, because that really is a big part of the charging infrastructure, is being able to get in and out of those fast charging stations relatively quickly. I have seen online other people doing videos in similar temperatures, and it looked like it was a little bit challenging. I am curious to know what that means. That's why I've let the battery run down this far. These cars charge much, much quicker when they have a very low battery than when they have a relatively full battery. So by the time I get to the charging station, it'll be probably 15% battery, maybe a little bit less. And that should be plenty good to give it a good test in the fast charging realm. These Electrify Canada charging stations that I'm going to are the most reliable fast chargers, and there's multiple outlets there at that station. So that's why I've chosen this one. It's also the same one that I did the last test at with the extreme cold. So I thought it would be good to do the test at the same location. I obviously can't rule out issues with the chargers on the prior attempt or this one. But as I mentioned, they have been consistently the most reliable chargers around here. There are some Petro-Canada chargers. They've tended to be a little bit flakier, and there's only a couple of chargers at their stations. In this particular case, if I'm not getting a decent charge at one of the stations, I can move over to one of the other ones. If it's really bad and it's not working at all, I may drive up to the Petro-Canada station as well, just to give it a shot. It doesn't hurt. But the reality is, if we're still peaking at that sort of 40 to 45 kilowatt range, then realistically, when you're driving one of these cars in winter in Canada, you're better to find one of the less expensive 50 kilowatt chargers and just plug in there. You're going to get the same rate of charge, and you're going to pay a lot less money. So I'll continue driving, and we'll see what happens when I get there. Okay, we're all plugged in and charging, and off to a much better start than last time I was at these stations. I've plugged into a 150 kilowatt charger. This station was almost full when I got here. There was only this one spot available. The Electrify Canada app, oddly enough, said it was full, which is really strange. But I was able to plug in and get the charge to work through the app this time, which is a nice change from last time when I had to tap a credit card. There's another blue Mustang Mach-E parked in the stall right beside me. I didn't talk to the driver or anything. Beside that was a red Ford Lightning truck, F-150 Lightning. And it left a few minutes after I pulled in here, and it's gone now. And then on the other side of me here, there's another car charging over here, which I didn't look too closely at, but I think it's a Nissan. I'm not sure. But anyhow, busy day at the charging station today, which is really unusual. Usually it's maybe one other car here when I come here. So it's kind of nice to see it starting to get used more commonly. The charge rate that I'm getting now, it started out at 91 kilowatts. It's sitting at 87 now, and so that's, roughly double, around double what I was getting last time that I was here when it was -35. So it does seem like the chargers work better at the non-extreme temperatures, which is good to see. So there is some benefit if you're in a hurry to come into these chargers when it's -6, -7, -8 degrees. But don't bother when it's -35, I think, is the lesson that we've learned so far. And with that, I'll let it charge up a little more. We'll see if it picks up in speed or anything like that. I don't think it will. It's actually slowed down a little bit. It started at 91, has gone down to 85. But I'll keep an eye on it as the battery warms up. Maybe it'll pick up a little bit more, and then I'll check back in again before leaving the station. Quick update. The car is at 46% charge right now after about 20 minutes. And it's hovering at between 98 and 99 kilowatts charging right now, which is really good, considering that it's still a little bit chilly outside. And I'm waiting to see if it's going to pop over 100. I'll probably take the car up to about half charge here, just because charging at these stations is really expensive. So we got another 3% or so before I give up. It is Starting to slow down a little bit again, though. That's probably the charge curve on the car doing that. I'm assuming it's spending some time keeping the battery warm. Okay, I've reached a 50% charge now, and we've slowed down to 94 kilowatts. Seems like 99 was the peak. Couldn't quite get over 100 today. Must just be too cold out there. Having said that, 99 is pretty good, and the reality is if I had to drive somewhere at 50% right now, I could get pretty far. I'm just looking to see how long, what the gasometer on the car says. 168 kilometers from where I am right now, and that does tend to be very conservative, so you'd probably actually get a little further than that, all things being equal. We're now at 51%. Oh, there, we broke 100. We're at 100 kilowatts now, so maybe let me give it a minute more, and we'll see how it does. Okay, so after peaking at 100 there, it has started to drop again. It's back down to 92. So I think we can safely say that it's starting to slow down. I'm going to go unplug it and then be on my way. But there you go. So if you are in Canada or in a colder climate and it's minus 30, minus 35, minus 40, there's no point in coming to these 150 or 350 kilowatt charging stations. The battery in the car is going to be too cold and the charger itself is not going to work very well. You may as well just go to a less expensive 50 kilowatt charger. When you get closer to freezing, when you're in that sort of minus 7, minus 8 degrees temperature and warmer, then these chargers start to make more sense because they'll charge 2 times, maybe a little faster than 2 times as fast as the 50 kilowatt chargers. You'll get a lot more energy in a lot shorter period of time, and then the additional cost is probably worth it just from a time savings perspective. But it does depend on whether you're in a hurry or not. There is a lot of 50 kilowatt chargers around, not quite as many as the super fast DC fast chargers, but they will start to become more common, more prevalent. They already are. And as these electric cars become more common, obviously the charging station, the charging infrastructure is going to need to catch up to that as well. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you.